All right. Oh, hello. Can you hear it? Awesome. Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Vice Chair Biani,
Here.
Chair Tombe,
Here.
Commissioner Stanek,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
and Commissioner Davis is absent today.
Excellent. All right, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for the September meeting.
I have few changes or suggestions. Oh, hello. Got it. In the old business item 2, where it says Vice Chair Biani suggests accomplishing the 1 to 2 years goal first to ensure the community's interest. I meant to. It was said that the breakdown of the short-term plan to 1 to 2 years, and to understand through surveys and inquiring the partners whether if there is interest to, and then look into building the long-term facilities. So I can give you the right term. And in the section below where it says Vice Chair Biani asked for more details on the public engagement process, in there, I feel like the pilot program to move Teen Center is kind of out of context. It was, since the Teen Center is like a priority or felt underutilized, to do a pilot program to see how well it is received if we do this move, or so. Any other changes?
Looking for a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
I second.
All right, moving to a oral vote. We can start on this side. Yes or no,
Yes.
or abstain.
Yes.
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 So with that, the meeting minutes are approved with the amendments. All right, next up, we have ceremonial matters and presentations. Item number 2, Teen Center and Teen Programs presentation.
While our presenter gets ready, Jeff Milkus, Director, Recreation and Community Services. I just wanted to say, in last month's meeting, there were a few comments about the teen program and the teen center, and as a result, we've asked Danny to come here tonight, our coordinator of everything teen, to give you a brief synopsis of the kinds of things going on and a review over the last number of years. So, with that said, Danny.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. I don't know which microphone I speak. Oh, excellent. And now everyone can hear me. All right. So, thank you for having me. Before I start, I do want to encourage you to ask any questions, either after or during, because I'm going to be going over a lot of info. And so if there's anything that needs to be clarified, please feel free to let me know. All right, so I did want to go over our teen center facility and the current status of our teen programs. And I selected the years of 2015 to now because I started supervising this area in July of 2015. So we're going to see how that's changed from when I took over to right now. So, and actually, I should mention that when I started, I was given very clear instructions to really try and build things from the ground up. So, so far, I think we're on the right track. So, regarding what I'm going to be going over, I'm going to be going over the Teen Center and, as I mentioned, the current status of our team programs. So we're going to go over the new registrants since 2015. Right off the bat, you can see that there was a small, or I guess a pretty clear dip between 2015 and 2016. This was because right as I got into it, I noticed that we were taking registration from January to January, and I felt like it made more sense to do school year to school year. So we essentially started from scratch, and since then have built up those numbers again. And the most recent numbers, the 169 on the right, shows the amount of new students that we have. It's not the total number of current students. Excuse me. This next graph shows the average daily attendance between seasons, between each season. And actually, this next slide probably provides a more clear view of everything by season. So as you can see, between 2016 and 2018, our average daily attendance has increased, with summer being our most crazy season. We always have a good amount of kids, usually during summer, and it's always a very interesting time for sure. But if you see, the gray bar is the year 2016, yellow 2017, and blue 2018, and you can see that it has increased over the last 3 years. This next graph, so when I first started, there was a continuous issue that we would close the teen center early because there was a lack of students. And since 2015, that number has gone down, and in this year so far, we have only closed the teen center early 9 days of our daily operation. Days without sign-ins. This was a very similar issue to the days that we had to close early. There would be some days where no kids would show up, and there would be a lack of sign-ins. So far, that has not been the case. So here's to a great rest of 2018. All right. next are our Teen Center programs. So in 2015, we had about 3 consistent Teen Center events, and this included really one-time events that weren't just drop-in students. And since then, we have introduced every program on the right-hand side. So Haunted House, which is actually going to be occurring this month on October 28th, 27th, which is a Saturday, I hope. I think it's October 27th. We recently did a Hot Wings challenge, which was very interesting. Oh my gosh. And then we also have been doing summer barbecue since last year. This year in March, we introduced mock trial workshops. Right now, the city contracts with Communication Academy, and they come out and do free communication workshops. We have Taquito Tuesday, and one that I'm really excited about is coming up on October 14th. It is a girls coding workshop, and that the goal behind that is to, I think in the tech field, it's pretty overwhelmingly male, and so we want to show that girls can code too. So that will be occurring on October 14th at the Teen Center. We do video game tournaments, study nights, and actually this year in spring we started to open on Monday, whereas we used to only be open Tuesday through Saturday. And so far, even with that, we have not yet closed one day. So I think that new aspect has been fairly successful. Finally, we do advertise the space as a space for teens to hold their meetings, because I know that on Saturdays the library is fairly full with residents. So that is one space that we offer. So if there's anyone that you know that is looking for a meeting space, have them send me an email. And so between 2015 and 2018, there is a significant increase in new Teen Center programming. Moving on to the next slide, which is the future of the Teen Center. So we do want to have more workshops. I think that is something that is very well received. In July, we actually our IT department got us They got us 4 new gaming computers, 2 iMacs, and a printer. So all of those are welcome for any Cupertino teen to use. What I would like to see happen is to have one room be the game room and one room turn into a study space. We did a survey a few years ago of what teens would want to see in a new teen center, and oddly enough, they want more space to study and to meet. And I would like to bring that to the teen center. So on the bottom 2 photos, you'll see that the games are kind of spread out. I want to consolidate all of that into one room and have another room look like some photos that I'm about to show you. And finally, one thing that I'm really excited about, with the help of actually, we were actually able to secure 2 dates at Lawson Middle School to have a sort of roving teen center. So that's coming up. I actually just confirmed this earlier on October 18th and the 25th. So on 2 Thursdays, we are going to be going out there and bringing the teen center to teens. So if that goes well, we'll see what that turns into. But that's an excellent relationship that I do want to maintain. So here's what I would love there we go. Here's what I would love the other room to look like. So something that is a bit more casual, where teens can come in and either meet or relax. And I like this photo in the top right because it has a nice little coffee bar. Not that they need more caffeine, but it's still a nice concept. So, unless there aren't any questions on Teen Center specifically, I can go ahead and go into teen programs. Or we can save all questions. I'm okay with either.
I had a question.
Yeah.
You said you're bringing it to Lawson. What are the ages that you expect at the teen center?
At the satellite one, or at the so Lawson Middle School is for 6th to 8th. Yeah. So age-wise, I believe that's
It's probably like 11 to 13.
11 to about 13. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the teen center itself?
At the teen center itself, it's open for anyone grade 6 through 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right. I will be going into our teen programs now. So, similar to the teen center, here are some pre-existing programs and events, that were here before 2015. So we've got our teen center, leaders in training, our teen commission, teen classes, our partnership with the school of the Fremont Union High School District, and Helping Hands, which is a volunteer program which takes place at McClellan Ranch. Here is our new and or revamped programs, which I like to call our youth and teen services. So what I am trying to do is really trying to put it all under what we call youth and teen services, and that includes teen center, teen commission, any of volunteering, leadership, and all that kind of stuff. And that also includes these new and revamped programs. So our Cupertino Leadership Academy, which I will actually show you a photo of it on the next slide, was a teen leadership academy, which we started this year. So each Thursday for 6 weeks of summer, we went to a new organization where they would learn leadership skills while learning about the organization itself. So we met with staff from City Hall. We went to West Valley Community Services. we worked with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, McClellan Ranch, and the Chamber of Commerce, and we ended with the Asian Americans for Community Involvement Organization. And each week was a new module. So teamwork, leadership, conflict resolution, and things of that nature. And we had a total of 9 students in that. And that included an application and a resume process. So overall, it was very, very well received. With our summer volunteer program, so it was at one point just leaders in training, yet that also included so the original format of LITs was that they would go to both summer camps and to the pool at the Cupertino High School. With this new format, we have them separated. We have now leaders in training and junior swim instructors. So they have their options that in each of these programs, they do learn leadership skills while volunteering. And so that was our summer volunteer program, which I have a few photos of here. They would go to our separate summer camps or to the aquatics program at Cupertino High School. This year this was a record year. We had about 48 total volunteers, so a very large amount of teenagers. And this includes any teen between the ages of 14 and 18. Going back to my little list, we also have a young and naturalist program at McClellan Ranch, a lifeguard academy, and the next 3 programs are with our teen commission. So that includes Cupertino, Bob Latino, which I will talk about in a little bit, teen workshops, and our new combined youth and teen services program. So that was CTLA again, summer volunteers, and this is Bobatino, which was a unique experience for me. As you can see by that line on the left, when I first saw it, I realized at that moment just what I had gotten myself into. So that's right by Main Street, and that line wrapped around to 85. So if you've been out there, it was like right around. It was insane. Overall, though, it was fantastic. And it's the main goal from the start was, for the last 2 years, the Teen Commission has really wanted to find ways to reduce teen stress in the area. But after talking about it for a long time, we realized that it's a very large issue. So what we're trying to do is trying to offer these one-off sort of events where teens can come in and socialize and do things that are fun. I think in this area, the word fun isn't something that's heard too often, and they would like the amount of times I hear that they can't do something because they have to go home and do school work is a foreign concept, because I feel like when we were teenagers we would rather be outside and getting into trouble rather than actually doing schoolwork. However, in this era and in this area, it's the reverse. So we are trying to reintroduce fun to teenagers, trying to bring recreation to our local youth and teen community. So this event itself saw over 600 teenagers, which was it's probably the largest teen event I've done here so far. And I think after 3 years, I finally figured out what teens like, and they really like milk tea. So there we go. It's going to be at everything now. So that was Cupertino, and that occurred in August. I'm almost done, I promise. So upcoming here on Friday, October 19th, we have our third iteration of Pizza and Politics, and the idea behind it is you come in, you get free food, and you can hear local reps speak about politics. And in some cases, some teachers do offer extra credit. So that is one more incentive that we do like to use. In March 2019, we will be having a summer job fair here at Community Hall. Something that we are recently now starting up is a youth activity board. With our teen commission, we often work a lot on events, yet we also want to do things that are more conceptual, things that are more for long-term change. And so we kind of want to have the teen commission be more of that, and our youth activity board is something that is strictly to do three things. Number one, give them a chance to learn leadership skills. Two, put on events and activities for events and activities for teens by teens. And three, to really widen our scope. So we want to get as many teens in rec as we possibly can, and that is what our youth activity board will set out to do. And recruitment for that will start in November. Next up, we have Cupertino Talent, which is a singing competition that is going to occur hopefully in May 2019. And next, at our last meeting, our teen commission had a great conversation with the assistant superintendent of the school district. And so there's a lot of good work that's going to be coming out of that. And also with the teen commission work plan, which should be finalized in 2018, 2019. And I don't want to speak too much on that because I will have them come in and present to you guys once all of that is finalized. But with all of that, all of the new programming, there is also, as with the teen center, an increase in what we have to offer, and I honestly don't want to stop there. I feel like there's a lot more, and so I'm always like looking for new things and new ideas for what our teens might want. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for putting this together. We're always excited to know what the Teen Center is doing, and thank you specifically for all the work you've done. It's shown tremendous growth over what the center's been able to do. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I'll let the other commissioners start off if you have any questions. Otherwise, I can jump in.
That was a great presentation. I wrote down lots of questions, but by
Yeah.
the end you answered them like
Oh,
all,
okay,
except
cool.
one,
Oh, okay.
which is like nitpicking. But so I was going to ask about some of your programs.
Mhm.
Just out of curiosity, who are you bringing in for your Pizza and Politics night? Are there local like League of Women Voters
Yes.
or who's
So in terms of which organizations or in terms
Yeah.
of which
candidates
candidates?
or how is that going to work?
Sure.
Personal interest. That's
Yeah.
for kids voting.
Yes. So for the first segment, it's a Tri-City Mayor's discussion, which actually that's a good question because I forgot to mention that this is an event that's organized by the city of Cupertino, Saratoga, and Campbell's Youth Commissions. So we'll have the mayor of Cupertino, Saratoga, and Campbell for segment 1. For segment 2, Evan Lowe will be coming out and giving us some insight on his platform. And for segment 3, the teens will they are organizing a congressional debate that they will debate amongst each other. So that last part I'm really excited about. It should be really interesting to watch.
Oh, so I want to thank you for that because one of my personal interests is getting the vote out for and educating our young high schoolers to.
Excellent.
I mean, if they start voting at 18, they probably vote the rest of their lives. So that's when you lose them. So thank you for putting that together.
Oh yeah, sure, anytime.
Oh, wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Love the growth that has happened in last 2 years.
Thank you.
And it seems it's very obvious that the food attracts teens.
Oh God, yeah.
All the events, the new introduced, the hot wings, pizza,
Yeah, we don't-
boba, tacos, everything attracted teens. So you got that.
Yeah, we don't screw around. Yeah.
I also noticed that all the programmings and all the new things that are being introduced, it seems like you are going to the teens. So you're taking the programs physically out of the teen center, and it seems they are getting a lot more attention, and a lot more teens are attending those events.
Yes.
That's a key point that we have been talking about in our thing, that the teen center location itself is a little bottleneck, but when you take these programs out, you are getting a lot of attention from the teens, and obviously we have a lot of teens in the city.
Yeah.
So that is good to see, and when we discuss the master plan, that is kind of a very, things to consider, where the teens would like to be. Bobatino is obviously a great, and I have personal interest in the satellite teen center, and I would love to see how it turns out in the
Yeah.
October month, and see that if more schools would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Lawson has agreed to take this offer and let city present bring the teen center to the teens. So it would be great to see the response, and I will probably be there on the first one and see how.
Excellent. Yes. No, I think, with the, I think you are accurate. The teen center itself is in a very unique spot. And we realized that there is ease in trying to bring the teen center to them versus them coming to us. And so we're hoping that this is the start of a lot more good things to come.
And I
in that
like
regard.
the way you have proposed the new structure of the existing teen center also, where you divide the workspace, play area with the study area, and that might be more, you might get more takers on that.
Yeah.
And though because it seems like, so it would be good study to do, see what the Lawson Satellite Center bring in, number of students per day, versus what we have, like 10, 12 students every day attendance at the teen center.
Yeah.
That would be like a key to see if we can move more centers. So.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So I had a question on Cupertino.
Yeah.
Did we collect any information or like emails from the students that attended?
We did not.
Okay.
And that was done because we also didn't want to, like, we wanted to just give them a space to relax. And actually, when we had asked them to fill out the survey, there was some like, ugh, like I don't want to do this right now, you know. So, you know, it was a good space for them to just come out and have a good time and socialize with each other. But yeah, that's a good.
If there's any way that, you know, even if we do like a raffle or something, if you can just like put your name and email, that way we don't necessarily have to rely on schools or other organizations to proliferate the information for us. We can just get right to the teens with all the amazing things we're doing. I think that would be really interesting. The second question I had was, well, first of all, shifting to looking at the programming for the academic year is very smart. Most of our teens, when they turn 18, will go to college. So it fits perfectly in line with how teens look at their own schedule. Looking at how we had such few days that the teen center closed early, and also we had 0 days so far without for days without sign-ins. What do you think were the primary contributing factors for that change over the past couple of years?
Over the past couple of years, so that's a really good question. Like how it went from like 15 days open or 15 days closed to here. Let me go. I'll see if I could go back.
Yeah,
to
I mean, there was the 50 days that it closed early down to 9. I mean, that's huge.
I think there's a lot of contributing factors to that. One thing is I did a lot, and I tried to do a lot of things. So it's like I try to. What's the phrase? Like I threw
it at the
something
wall,
on
see
wall,
what sticks.
And yeah, exactly. And I think that is what happened here. I tried a lot, and the other thing which I can say for sure is we can offer free food and to all that stuff, but I think what teens return for is for our staff. And I think honestly that it has to do with the staff that we have. There's staff who are loved, and you as a teen won't come back unless you like your role models. And I am very content to say that we have some phenomenal staff at our teen center.
That's amazing, and would love to get their names so we can highlight them too.
Sure. Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So where do I start? So starting off with my two staff assistants, Andrew Wooten and Emma Siegel, awesome staff, just all around. Like, I'm getting goosebumps here. It's like awesome staff. And then with rec leaders, Chris O'Leary, Marlisha Hikalades, Heratub, Ifter, Will Hannell, Giles Van Pooch, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Oh my God, I love you all. Tulio Martins, Puya, Mahdi Yasti. I hope I said it correctly. Yeah, all around awesome staff, and you can tell the relationships that our teams have with them. I don't think we would be as nearly as successful if it wasn't for our staff.
Amazing, and thank you also to you for your incredible work over the past couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
It really shows.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments from the commission?
No.
Great work. Thank
Cool.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. All right, we are moving on into oral communications. Kevin, do we have any oral communications not related to Jollyman Park dog leash? No. I don't believe we do. For those that are in the audience, we will be beginning the Jollyman Park Unfenced Dog Off-Leash Area trial survey. As a reminder, if you would like to speak to the commission, you need to fill out one of these blue forms. They're up at the corner table. If I don't have a blue form, you don't have an opportunity to speak to us. We would love to hear what you have to say, so please do fill out one of the blue forms up at the corner table over here. All right, we can go ahead and get started with our presentation.
Okay, and that would be me. Let me ask you just a moment. Okay. We're bringing back information related to a survey that was completed in order to determine what the neighbors around Jollyman Park would think of a off-leash area, but a trial to establish such an area. As you may recall, a group of interested community members, some of which are here tonight, presented to you a number of months back a concept plan for an off-leash area that would be in Jollyman Park in the, looks like the southeast part of the park. From their presentation, I grabbed this slide so we could be consistent. The area inside the yellow dotted lines is the area that is proposed. And the intention is that the off-leash times are the last couple of hours that the park is open over a 6-month period. So we've started to investigate a little to see what the community members would think, and at the same time looking into what the logistics would be and what kinds of conflict may come up as a result. So tonight, my mission is just to present to you the results of that survey. For those here, I've just captured the information that is found inside of the staff report. We've also provided you the data that came from the survey. The survey included a number of questions that was intended to get at not only would people support the off-leash area, but what kinds, how large are their dogs and how many dogs do they have? Indeed, do they have a dog or not? There are a lot of support. There is support traditionally for off-leash areas, even if folks don't have dogs. So what we found with our questions in the staff report, I'll reference the specifics to the survey. I think there were a little over 300 people that completed it. A good number of folks registered, and a number of folks did not register, meaning that they gave us their information when they filled out the survey. We are presenting this separately tonight. 138 registered into the system, and what we found was that almost all of them lived with not only within the city, but 3/4 lived within a half a mile of the park. And that's really a critical part of this, because those are typically, in an off-leash area, folks that are more likely to use the off-leash area, the ones that live just right within walking distance. There is a bit of an anomaly there. If the off-leash area was to be fenced, then you would see typically a larger number of people that don't live right within walking distance of the park. It may be because of a perception of a safer environment or something like that. But in any event, 65% of the folks that completed the survey that registered said they would use the survey. They typically liked the location, liked the hours, and 76% supported the trial of the off-leash area. So those are folks that gave us their information. For those that completed the survey anonymously, you'll see that still 97% of respondents lived within the city. You can see that the that half of the folks lived within a half a mile. The majority of folks thought that the trial was the location was good, the time was good, and 70% supported the trial of the off-leash area. So anytime you get involved with surveying for things like this, having a number that's that significant is probably a pretty good sign of the support. Now, keeping that in mind, this was what we call a self-selected survey. It wasn't a survey that was scientifically acceptable in terms of the number of responses and such like that, with a plus-minus factor. This was simply one that folks could come online and complete the survey. With that said, that was the only other slide. The other thing that I would mention is, from a staff perspective, we expect this to be fairly time. How do I say this? This is going to take some time and some work on the part of staff, and the reason is because we expect quite a bit of additional public involvement that will be needed. As we go through the trial, in order to ask for a decision or such, both from a recommendation standpoint from the commission and ultimately a change to the municipal code to allow dogs by council, there is going to be more work in terms of staff. So that's why we would certainly need to include this in our annual work plan and either amend the current year's work plan or go into the next year's. And those decisions will be made, of course, after your, the recommendation that you may make. So with that said, we looked into potential conflicts. We need to schedule carefully, knowing that the T-ball field that's up right above the proposed area does have T-ball for a certain amount of time, but we don't believe that there is significant opportunity for conflict because of the location that the off-leash area is. It's a pretty good distance. That the little T-ballers don't necessarily hit the ball into the dirt, let alone outside of the dirt. And while we can control that, what we can't control are the four-legged T-ball players who may be interested in chasing the ball. So what we may want to do is to look at this for dividing up the two from a temporal standpoint, saying that the off-leash area the last 2 hours and the T-ballers need to finish up at a certain time and that kind of thing. Those are negotiations and things within the permits that we would want to talk respectfully and at length with the sports groups. You'll also notice that there are two playground areas off in the northwest and the southwest part of Jollyman Park that are right next to the to the parking lot. Those are the two areas that our consultants have identified for a potential all-inclusive playground. And there's grant program, and I'll speak to that with my comments in a bit. But we believe that there will be additional use of the park if we put one of those all-inclusive playgrounds in. Now, we know that our council has approved us to write a grant and pledge that if we get it, they'll pledge a significant amount of money toward completing that project. So although we don't have an approved project, we have a pretty good idea that there may be a need to look at the scheduling on the long-term off-leash area at least. Again, we don't have the project approved in any regard, only that we're going to apply for some money. Part of the reason is that we really have to talk to the neighbors at length about the additional use of the park as a result of that a result of the all-inclusive playground. So anyway, that's all I've got to my presentation. What we're looking for from a staff perspective is your recommendation, really your recommendation to council. And so we'll be taking it to council if you recommend that we do, and we'll go from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeff. Any questions from the commissioners?
Jeff, I have a question. Were there some free-form comments that survey respondents could fill in other than yes, no, these are the days, how many dogs I have?
Yes, there were. I don't know that they were included in the packet. We can get those sent off to you, though. The comments were, for the most part, were very, very well thought out. And I guess I'll use the term very businesslike. They were, there was a lot of lessons, a lot of things we can learn from the comments.
So suggestions on how to make it work?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see those.
Okay.
So is there if this trial to go forward, is there a staff, you said staff impact, will there be cost added to the department for staff, or?
That is a great question. In terms of the trial, the existing staff that will be working on it, myself and members of the leadership team, I would say not at this point. Okay. The real question is the cost of capacity, meaning that this is going to take some time along with the master plan and the strategic plan we're working on and everything else. So that's why we try to regulate the larger projects. And I believe this is typically a larger project and would need to want to put this into the work plan.
Any questions? And it would have to come out with some kind of rules. To have a trial also, there should some kind of code. You said there will be change of code to be able to do the trial? Yes,
the municipal code doesn't allow off-leash dogs in parks and areas unless they're part of an event or activity and or in an area that's designated as such. So we need to work through those issues on the long term. We still need to staff it with our city attorney's office in terms of deciding whether one of those areas, whether a trial fits one of those criteria within the code.
So we don't know how long would it take to get that change in order for this trial to get?
I'm making an assumption.
Okay.
And it is just that, an assumption that we may not need to change, but I don't know. I need to still get that legal opinion.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other clarifying questions?
Okay, remind me again, what's the hours that this would be?
The last 2 hours the park is open.
Okay.
So since the park is typically open until it gets dark,
right?
It could fluctuate based on the time of the year.
It will fluctuate.
Yes,
right.
It will fluctuate.
So it seems to me also that probably if it fluctuates the last 2 hours, it probably wouldn't compete with T-ball, because T-ball is long over before. During the T-ball season, which is spring, summer, they're long gone before the last 2 hours of this park. But anyway, it seems like there's a lot of workable things to do. So I have a question about you mentioned this would have to go into a work plan and then maybe be part of a master plan. I don't know, this seems to me like something that could happen first, or
Oh, yeah, it
sooner.
doesn't necessarily need to go into our master plan, other than the general theme of increasing the number or the amount of off-leash dog areas. But in terms of this one, yes, we'll be looking to memorialize this as a work area, one of the major areas that staff are going to spend time on if we go forward with this.
And then my last sort of comment is, if this is a 6-month trial and we could get this started soon, this would happen long before there is actually a all-inclusive park. So we would have data on how it works and if it works and what the neighbors think and if the dogs go chase balls or kids, or we'd have a lot of data before we actually put a playground in.
Absolutely true.
Okay.
One more
so
question.
Go ahead. I had a question. So, in terms of the time frame, what is it that you're looking at? I mean, when could be the soonest? When would you think it? How long could it be?
I would suppose it
before we
could.
could start it.
I would suppose it could be there. From a possibility standpoint, it could be around the holidays even that we get a trial going. I suspect it'll be a little bit later than that. Again, it depends on your recommendation and how quickly we can kind of navigate the waters with this.
So if it's out that far, we could have some summer months that we could have this trial, because I would think that those would be high use months, and I would hate for the trial to go, October to March, and in the middle of winter. So I mean, not that I want to put it off, but I would like to see that we, have some summer months activity there.
I'm completely in agreement with that. Absolutely.
And so you think it will take some time just to maybe set expectations as well, to get the rules and regulations and do the other administrative things that we need to do. Okay.
I had the same question about the timing. When you say 2 hours before the park closes, so in November to March, it probably closes at 5 because the sunset happens. So how
And my concern is whether the trial will be an accurate reflection,
right,
since the sun is down and people may still be at work.
And also, would there be some kind of how many can that area accommodate? Like, is there going to be, too many or too? I mean, is there?
I think from a social doggy standpoint, I don't see that's. The more the merrier when it comes.
I don't own a dog, so I.
Well,
okay.
And
I'm just curious.
Frankly, I don't speak dog, so I couldn't really talk to him. But,
Me neither.
but it's been my experience over the years working with many off-leash areas that they adapt to the number of dogs that are there, and generally, I don't. From a professional standpoint, I don't see that to be an issue.
Okay, thanks.
Great. If there are no more clarifying
I
questions.
had one more question. So what's the blue line on here versus the yellow line? The yellow line you said is where you proposed the dog park. What's the blue line?
Yeah, I think those were existing fences at one point, right?
But they're not there today?
No.
Okay.
No, in other words, I think the fence line on the bottom is a fence line. The one on the top,
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause
really
that's
not sure.
That's the back of the neighbors' homes.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm really not sure. I stole this from I reappropriated this from the presentation that the community members made so that I can keep the yellow dotted line there consistent.
So you would expect that there would be some signage, some indication of where and what the hours are. Yeah, I mean, one thing with a moving time frame is that people don't always know what it is because, what time is sunset today? One of the things they do over at Blackberry Farm, where the back gate closes at a different time depending on the time of the year, is there are hours posted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we would post the hours, and there's two ways to do this. Putting posts into the ground with the signage in, say, the four corners and at the entrances, the entrances to the park, so that individuals that are entering can see immediately what's appropriate and what's not. The second way to do this is to put a fence around it, whether it be temporary or otherwise. I suspect right now that this would not be a fenced off-leash area for a trial. I've staffed it with folks contracted to look after the risk management for the city, and I've gotten different advice from different folks that I've spoken with, and so I still need to work that out as well.
Great, thank you. Any other clarifying questions? All right, great. Next, we'll be moving into the oral communications section of this agenda item. We do have a number of people who would like to speak for this agenda item. So what I'm going to do is read off 3 names, and it would be great if those 3 people could line up. You have 3 minutes to speak. The commission can't respond to what you're saying, so we'll sit and we will listen to what you are saying. At the end of 3 minutes, an alarm will go off. You will know your time is up, and I'll call the next person to join at the end of the line. All right, the first 3 people we have on the list: Vidya Damle, Deepa Mahindra, can't read the last letter, and Ajit Chamraj. Please go ahead and all 3 come up to the microphone. You'll go one by one. And then also, if you can repeat your names for our records as well, that would be fantastic.
All right, I'm Deepa. We are kind of going
Hold on just a moment. I just want to confirm that the microphone is working. We can hear it on the... Can you try speaking again?
Hello. Can you hear me? All right,
fantastic.
Awesome. Okay. Good evening, folks. So thanks for the opportunity to speak, and thank you, Jeff, for getting us this far. Back in February, a whole bunch of concerned citizens and community members came and presented a whole section on why we would like to support off-leash area for our dogs. Dogs are like our family members. Outside of just, the pleasure it gives to our dogs and for us as a community to get to know each other. There are many advantages of doing this. We are constantly being told by our security folks, the sheriff's office and so on, that if you want security in Cupertino, have a dog, right? So if we have a dog, we have to make sure the dog is happy too, right? And a dog is happy if it's exercised, it's worked off well. The other positive aspect of having an off-leash area where dogs get to interact with people as well as other dogs is socialization. It's a very important aspect of a dog's life, where they get to play with other dogs, they get to be comfortable around other people, they know who's safe and how to behave around people. It's almost like training them just like people train service dogs, right? It's almost there, not 100%, but almost there. So our dogs, when they come here, they go home happy. They have had their opportunity to play around, goof around, and get exercised, as well as learn how to behave around people. So there are so many advantages. Security is definitely a big advantage of owning a dog. The other security aspect I want to call out is that when people are out, we are constantly told, go out there, get to know your neighbors, build your community. In the past few years, we have built such a strong community of people, and you're seeing that force over here. And the fact that we are out there every day is probably helping deter some burglar in that neighborhood, right? Where there are some burglars, some thugs, some marijuana drinking, smoking, whatever it is that people do, right? It is definitely deflecting that, because we are out there late hours and we need to go there, and our dogs are there. So in some sense, we are improving the security of the area and not necessarily deterring it or making it any worse. So I just wanted to bring out the positive aspects of this thing. This is an ask, but it's not just us who stand to take advantage of it. It's all the houses and the families in the neighborhood and the entire community that stands to take advantage of a program like this. So I'd really like to impress upon the commission to consider it, to move on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepa. All right, next up, come on up and say your name.
Hi, I'm Ajit Chamraj, and I'm from Monte Vista High School, and I'm the freshman class president of the 2022 class. So, and instead of studying for my biology exam tomorrow, I decided to come here. So, and share my feelings about my dog Meg. So we adopted her from a pet shelter about 6 years ago, and when I was originally against it, but I realized that she's part of the family, and recently I realized she's been severely unhappy after she's been forced to stop seeing her friends at the park. She's severely anxious and restless, like tearing furniture, and I'm not joking. Like she's tearing furniture and she's restless. I'm sure each and every one of these dog owners can agree with me on this. Like I have some more points here. She's like a favorite among all people. She's extremely gentle with the elderly and children. And dogs are social creatures just like we are, and depriving them of social experiences like destroys their social emotional stability. And like I understand that people might be frightened of being around dogs, but all we ask for is like a limited space for only like a few hours. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your civic participation. We definitely appreciate that. All right, before we start the next speaker, can we also have Charlie and Samir please come up to the mic as well? All right, go ahead. Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes on the clock.
Hi, my name is Vidya Damle, and I am a resident of Cupertino since last 27 years. I would never have gotten the opportunity to be here, but we got a puppy dog at our house last year. And we were very apprehensive in the past, how would we deal with this? And soon, within a week's time, she became part of our family, and she started ruling the household, frankly. And I used to walk her to Jollyman Park morning and evening, and she being a very social creature, she met and started making friends with other dogs, and as a result, I got to make friends with so many people here that in spite of living in Cupertino for 27 years, I had no opportunity. I was even surprised that there were a few people living in the same lane that I never had to meet with them. And one of the ladies sitting here, she said, "Oh, you're the guy on the phone." That's my introduction is the guy on the phone. Now I am Mika's dad. So that is the different introduction. It's interesting enough that our dog continuously waits in the evening and sits at the door waiting for me to take her to the park. She wants to be, and she learns to be very socially responsible amongst the dog and now the people who come to our house or in the neighborhood. She acts responsibly. She is learning, so are we. And I believe that this trial, the ask is that this trial, there is nothing wrong in trying something out before anybody knows whether it works or doesn't work. That's my 2 cents. Next.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Charlie. Please state. If we can also hold the applause, that would be great. All right, next up, please state your full name, and you have 3 minutes on the clock.
Hi, I'm Charlie Hansen, and I've lived next to Jollyman Park since it was a school. We've always had a dog and are regular visitors to Jollyman for more than 40 years. A few years ago, my wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Our dog was a great companion for her. Sadly, our dog passed away a couple of years ago, but my wife and I continued to visit with the Jollyman dogs. My wife loved them, and it was a great therapy for both of us. After my wife stopped going to the park, I continued to visit with our friends and their dogs. It's become a regular social hour for me and is a great stress reliever to work with the dogs and to visit with their owners. These are my observations. Socializing dogs makes for a better dog. Some dogs just don't want to leave. They love playing together so much. Riley's one, I've seen her drag the dog out of there. He just lays down. He refuses to leave because he wants to stay with his buddies. Exercising the dogs makes for a healthier dog. Running is so much more fun than just walking around on a leash. Socializing the owners makes for better neighbors and a safer neighborhood. Many folks are better at watching the dogs. A dozen owners can better point out when a dog is relieving themselves. We keep the place clean. We share the area with the soccer, rugby, and volleyball players and joggers. Little League never has had a night game, so that's not an issue. Non-dog owners are always welcome. We show them how to approach a dog, to pet them, or to offer them treats, or to throw the ball for them. What we're asking for is a trial period to evaluate an off-leash area. Joliman could become an off-leash pilot for the other unofficial off-leash dog groups that are everywhere in Cupertino. Together, let's make it happen.
Thank you. All right, before we have the next, please hold your applause. Before we have the next speaker, can I have Anita and Ankita please come up as well? All right, go ahead. Please state your full name, and you have 3 minutes on the clock.
Hi, my name is Samir Raheja. Thank you for taking the time this evening to listen to our proposal. Just for clarification, the blue lines are meant to be the fences around the park. The bottom blue line is the fence, the house fences, and the upper blue lines are the chain link fence that go around the baseball park. They got moved in the PowerPoint. I want to reiterate what the other folks have said in terms of socialization. I would not have gotten to know this great group of people in Cupertino had my wife and I not gotten a dog and taken it to Jollyman Park and met so many wonderful people. We heard earlier this evening from the Teen Center and how important it is for teens to socialize. We adults also have very stressful lives, and we oftentimes don't take the time to meet our neighbors. Because we have dogs, this gives us a reason and an opportunity to get together in a forum outside our homes, outside works, to socialize, relax, and make the community a better place. I also want to say that in terms of responsibility, we take serious responsibility, as Charlie mentioned, for our dogs, and if the trial were to be approved, we would continue to do that, to police ourselves, and to adhere to any rules that the Commission and the Parks and Recs proposed. I'd also like to remind the Commission, when we presented earlier, we talked about who takes ultimate responsibility for the dogs. It is the owners, even if the city approves an off-leash area, either fenced or unfenced, liability will only fall on the owners. So the city won't bear any liability for anything untoward if it were to happen in the park. I'd also like to thank Jeff for his support in the process, for coming out and taking a look at the proposal, for helping us to conduct the survey and to bring it here to the Commission. He's really helped us shape this, and I hope that it's a positive proposal that you can all see the benefit of. We're asking for your support in this, so we hope that you can support it as you've seen it and as you hear the community speak about it. And finally, if it is approved and if it does come to fruition, we would like to invite all of you to come out and to see how it works and to join us in socializing there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next. Please state your full name, and you have 3 minutes on the clock.
Oops, sorry. I'm gonna hold it. It's too high. Hi, my name is Ankita Goyal, and I'm not a public speaker. I think this is my first time I'm speaking in front of so many people. But I had to come here. I just left my 2 kids there at home, and one of them texted, "Mom, what's for dinner?" I was like, just hold on. This is important. This is really, really important for me, and the reason is that we used to live on Blaney before, and I think I just know Meenakshi Biani's name because she was in Lawson. Her kids were in Lawson. And when I moved there, I tried to get friends with my neighbors, and Halloween was the thing, okay, go knock on the neighbors so at least we know who is living there. But there were a lot of neighbors who never even opened the door. But when I moved here 3 years back and we got a dog and I started going to Jollyman, I came in touch with all these amazing people that it's not just my dog whining at 5 o'clock to go to the park. it's me too. And I want to stop myself because I was spending like too much time, like 2 hours, 3 hours, and my husband is like, why don't you just stay at Jollyman Park? and the reason is that it's not just for him socializing, it's for me, and it's such a big, stress reliever. I commute like an hour each way for my office. I still want to make time because I don't need yoga or anything else, because once I go, I see my dog playing with other dogs, and like with all these amazing people I'm chatting. That's the best part of my day. So it's not just for dogs, it's for like our whole community. And I know like how Vidya said that there's so many people you don't know on your street. After having my dog, now I know a lot of people on my street and they have dogs, and we meet at Jollyman. So even if you have a club, you will not go there anywhere, but I look forward to we look forward to see each other every day, 7 days a week. We make it happen. Even if I have to go somewhere, I first go to Jollyman, and then we go to wherever we want to go in the weekends. It's so important and so special for me to go to Jollyman every day, religiously. So I really, really request you guys to consider it, and I think that would be best for our community and around that, because after commuting 1 hour each way, I really don't want to drive far, and it's just like 3 minutes away, and I'm like right over there. So it's very important for us, for dog parents.
Thank you. And finally, we have Anila Chamraj.
She couldn't be here. She had some other stuff to do, but she just wanted to share her experiences that she had at the park and how great it's been for her.
Thank you. All right. With that, and seeing as we have no additional blue cards, we can move into a discussion. We can move into a discussion about passing the recommendation for or against a trial off-leash dog park at Jollyman. Commissioners.
I wanted to thank you all for coming out, especially first-time speakers. It's one of the nice things about our commission is that it touches a lot of people's lives, and people aren't used to coming out and speak. And so if this gave you a reason to try that and get more engaged civically, I think that's it's a good thing, and we do want to hear from you, and so that we appreciate that. I wanted to share my own experience. Knowing this was coming up, and I recently adopted a dog. That's not why I adopted a dog, but I recently adopted a dog, and knowing that this was coming up, I wanted to check out the off-leash areas, the unfenced areas that are around here. So I actually took her over to Cuesta. Cuesta has 2 areas, I think. One of them is just for a couple hours in the morning, and the other one is open all day. And Cuesta is a very big park, and they have an area, and it's sort of in a bowl is what happens. And what happens there is the bowl acts a little bit as a natural barrier. So the dogs are running around, and so they're not getting as distracted by other users in the park. And so that's something that I noticed about that particular area. And I also noticed the dogs in there. They're definitely having a good time there. And there were so many other people still were using the park. They're running, they are riding their bikes, they're doing a lot of things. But it was a little bit so that the dogs weren't distracted by those other users. So I wanted to share that. If we do it the last few hours a day, as I said, I think we want to post the hours so people aren't guessing. We definitely want to be very clear about when this is, so that those people, and there are people in our community who are afraid of dogs, and they freak. And we need to be considerate of them and be very upfront that this is the time, and I want to see us be able to use our facilities for lots of different reasons and purposes. And so to that end, I think the more we communicate is, this is the time for people who are concerned about dogs. You can use it these other times, but be on notice that these are the times that we may have, that there will be off-leash dogs. And if that's uncomfortable for you, then go to one of the other parks, go to a different part of this park or something like that, so that there isn't conflict, and we need to make those barriers clear to those people, and so they can make the choices for themselves and not be surprised by any of it. So looking at if the blue is there temporary fencing there or not?
It's not actually there.
It's not there. So. Oh. So, I mean, I do feel there's no natural barrier here at all. So I do have a little bit of a concern about that I would like to see that, because certainly you're not going to control your dogs in the yellow part. That's just, there's nothing the dogs don't understand a yellow line on a graph. And so I think they will be looking for some sort of barrier of some sort. And so I think we need to make it somehow clear that it's obvious to the dogs and the owners where the area is. And if it's a little bit of a deterrent for the dogs scooting out, that would be something to consider, how we could do that.
Could we clarify the lines to where they are?
We could ask.
Okay, Commission would like to ask for clarification from a member of the audience to point out the accurate line reflection.
There's a chain link fence that goes along here and on the side of the park.
All right, can you just point that out one more time, and I'm going to follow along with what you're saying. Following his finger, you'll see that is the line where the chain link fence. This is the wooden fence on the baseline, and then as it comes up, that's where the chain link fence begins, and it wraps around.
Okay. So from a practical perspective, it's fenced on three sides. So we should consider that is where the dog park's going to be, is up to the fencing, because that's where they're going to run. And then there's only one side that's really open. There's the path that goes through there that's a little bit of a natural barrier, but it's not really a barrier. So, if there were people or bicycles, that might encourage dogs. I know that you've been out there a lot, but we might want to just consider that to see what could be done on a temporary basis, or if we need or see how it goes and then decide from there. But I did want to clarify what the area would be. It's not that little yellow triangle.
It's intended to be the yellow area, but we know that dogs may stray.
Yeah, so I don't want to put something in place that, again, people are going to say, wait a minute, I saw on a chart that this is where the dogs are supposed to be, and your dog went 3 feet out of it, or went to the fence. The fence is a natural barrier, and so we should acknowledge that that's where the dogs are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think splitting of the times between, when other activities are there and or days would work. I think it's a great idea. I think our neighboring cities are doing it. A lot of places are doing it. It's you see the dogs and they are so much happier. They are well socialized. They are different dogs off leash than often on leash, and so those are my comments.
Thank you.
So I don't own a dog, and I don't intend to own one, but I have family and friends. A lot of them have the dog, so I can see that they would love to have an off-leash area for them and the benefits that have been presented to us. I would like to, Carol mentioned, that there should be a very clear sign of the timing, that there is no confusion about the sunset hours. I would recommend to go ahead with a trial period, and possibly during the summer and not during the winter. But there was a project done by Leadership 95014 this year, which specifically talked about dog off-leash area. And they had come up with some proposals. They have gone through various studies, and there was a concept of pop-up dog park. So maybe it's worth looking at that project and see what they have come up with proposals, and maybe see if they can come up with some ideas from there and contain the area better. So that's all my comments.
Actually, I was going to mention the same thing. So they actually had some good ideas, and we should piggyback on some of their ideas because they've already done lots of research also. I guess that's what Leadership 9501 does, but they specifically did this. And just to make Carol feel better, there is sort of a natural back area. The dogs don't know the yellow lines. No dog knows the yellow lines. On the other hand, that back area is, there's no bicycler. There's few people in bicyclers because there's no path. It's really for wandering, which is a great spot, I think, for the dog park. Anyway, so I'm a little jealous of you Jollyman people. I used to be a Linda Vista dog park person. So I love that you have a little name for yourself because a lot of the parks have that, but my old dog passed away, but I was a dog park person, and I can't agree with doing this more. I had the same experience about neighbors. I have a special relationship with neighbors who have dogs, and some had puppies, and some had old ladies like my dog, and friendships grew out of that. So we talk about building community. Nothing builds community like dog friends. So I'm a strong supporter of having this as a community builder. As one lady said, more for me than my dog, although I know my dog liked it. I loved it. And almost all of you had that experience about knowing their neighbors. And then the last thing about I think Carol might have mentioned about, or someone mentioned about sharing parks, is, sort of like building a pool. There's a lap lane, certain hours. There's the kiddie pool, certain hours. I think there should be certain hours, well marked, that are for the dog people. And I do know there are people who are afraid of dogs, and we obviously have to keep that in mind. But it's a really big park, and a few hours set aside in a back lot does not seem like an unreasonable request, especially, again, if communication is the key. And so anyway, I would also strongly support, and being a 6-month, there's nothing to lose with the 6-month, but I agree it should maybe be like February through whatever, or March through September. It should be, or extend it to 8 months or something, so you actually see the natural process of what the park goes through. And a park in February is different than a park in August. So maybe you should even look at it as maybe a little bit longer, so it takes over some of the soccer people. Then the Little League people will be happy. They'll know the kids will be long gone, and we'd have some data on sharing the park.
Excellent. Oh, go ahead.
I have one more curiosity only. Is there some concept of electronic fans, like the invisible fan? Is that inhumane? Okay. Just clarifying. Okay.
Dogs would have to wear collars.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't agree with those.
Just clarifying.
A non-dog owner there.
Yes.
All right, great. So it looks like with pretty much.
Huh? You got some comment on it?
Oh. Okay. I'm also in support of running this as a trial. I think that until it's actually in effect, we don't know what every single person in the neighborhood would feel. Can't know how everybody feels until it's actually there. So I think with that, it would be a pretty unanimous recommendation to send this to council with what I noted were three sections. Was that one was clear signage for the times and the areas that these dogs would be using that space. I would recommend that we not shift just to summer, but that we extend the time period. So a longer time period, so we're not starting it in May. We can start it as soon as possible, rather than pushing it, but have it go into the summer months, so that we can see that and measure that as well. And then specifically taking a look at what the actual physical area the dogs will take up when they are there is something I would like to pay special attention to. If the hope is that this is to be used as a model for other parks, I do want to make note of the conditions and parameters that Jollyman has that some other parks don't have. some other parks are higher use for events, might not be suitable for this. So just knowing what we're bringing into that area, and then also making sure that we follow up with the 95014 on what they've been doing for their project as well, to make sure we incorporate that into our planning process. Final 3 comments I have is that one, in terms of making sure that the area stays kept well, I'm a pretty big proponent of self-monitoring. And as long as our staff during the trial period checks up on that and just make sure I'm comfortable with a self-monitoring standard used in that case. And the second thing is community building. I think that's a pretty significant component of this too. We're here to serve our community members, and if this is what's bringing people together, then absolutely I see no reason why we can't go forward with the trial. And as a person who unfortunately doesn't have a dog but wants 3, and has the keys to many people's houses that have dogs, I look forward to coming out and visiting. Excellent. You have any last minute?
I just have one comment before our dog-loving public leaves us, and I was going to bring this up later, but I realize some of you may not stick around. Blackberry Farm on this Saturday from 9 to 11 will be having Pooch in the Pool. For a $10 fee, you can bring your dog to the pool area. They can swim and run around there. You do be aware, the $10 fee is going for, I think, fire rescue dogs. And you do need to bring proof of vaccinations. So that was something that was on the flyer that I noted. But I just thought this would be a good place to make that announcement.
Amazing. And thank you all again for coming and speaking. It's so important for us to hear from you. This is definitely a really big community-driven project, and know that what you say and what you do does have a very tangible impact on your community. And I hope that you continue to do this not only for this issue, but for all of the other things that come forward with the Parks and Rec Commission as well. So thank you so much.
For this, yes.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Well, with that, we can move on to the 2018-2019 draft work plan. Excellent. All right. So going into our draft work plan, if everyone wants to take a look at what we have coming up for the November 1st meeting, I do want to flag that I will not be present for the December meeting. I know that there's a to be determined, so if there's additional people who will also not be at that meeting, I just want to make sure we're hitting quorum for our December meeting.
If the commission may also, I've looked up some. No, I've gathered a little bit of info in terms of other possible dates to potentially move this December meeting to. So I was just wondering if I can propose it to you guys just to see your calendar. The dates that at least that community hall is available. I have November 29th, December 5th, the 10th, or the 13th. I didn't want to aim for the following week after that just because we'll be shut down like right after, and just to give enough time in between the meetings.
Can you repeat those 3 one more time?
It's 4 in total. It's November 29th, so that's the previous Thursday, I believe. And then December 5th, which is the Wednesday before, December 10th, and the 13th.
Excellent. So for me, the only one that I am in town for is the December 13th meeting. I fly in that morning from Africa.
I am not available on November 29th, and either will Helene be.
I'm not there on November 29th also, so that December 10th or 13th are fine.
Yeah, I think that should work for me too.
Excellent. Well, shoot, guys. Thanks.
And you can make it. Yes.
Yes. I fly in that morning.
Again.
Oh, the other date to also consider is, I'm looking ahead, January. So I might have asked this before, but I just wanted to check with the commission. It's going to be January 3rd.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah.
Hang tight for just a second.
That one, and I didn't get a chance to look at the other dates, but I just wanted to check on that date in particular. If you want to move it, we can revisit this in November, just to then find a date then.
Do you know already if you can make it or not?
Seriously not.
Okay.
That's just because the the colleges, it's a break. The school starts on 7th, so it's a break time.
It's a maybe.
Morning?
Maybe for on 3rd.
Okay, thanks. I will be flying in on January 3rd as well. So that might be a meeting that we will need to reschedule. I think if we can do it
The following
at
week.
the next meeting, if we're comfortable with doing it to the next meeting, so we all
Yeah.
have a slightly better idea of our January schedule. And thank you for flagging that. When is I know we were trying to figure out when we could present to the city council.
For that,
I know it's a little.
it's a bit up in the air right
Yeah,
now.
that's fine.
There's still something staff are working through. So,
Okay.
We'll keep you up to date when that gets finalized.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. All right. So looking at November, we have the public transportation survey results and presentation, neighborhood events update, organizational structure, community gardens, construction update, CIP update, and priority discussion and citywide parks and rec system master plan. That looks like a pretty robust agenda to me. But is there anything that other commissioners feel like we should be pushing up here?
It also depends on how long are some of these updates, like, there are a number of items, but what is the duration, length of the?
Yeah, the staff will not be ready with the community gardens issue
Okay.
there. We put the community gardens project out for bid, and the bids were very robust, and as a result, we've gone back to we're attempting to rebid the project because it just was over the budget. So we're making a few changes, and so we won't be ready yet by then.
Okay. Do we have any updates on any of the items to be scheduled? The case management, senior advisory council presentation, because we haven't heard from them, and then the rest of the ones that are under the items to be scheduled.
Those two would be at your request. There's nothing time sensitive or not about either of those. We can, as you would like, we can have those ready to present.
It would be great to put those at least on the calendar. I feel like
December or January?
I think January is likely the
Yeah, with the ActiveNet presentation.
strategic plan approval is going to take a while.
Those are all long presentations, right? The ActiveNet would be.
Wait, also, why is this, and I might be reading this incorrectly, but January has strategic plan approval and February has strategic plan draft plan review. Are those supposed to be flipped?
I'm not exactly sure. We wouldn't have an approval before we have the draft plan.
Yeah, they are
The-
flipped.
So we might just need to
we
flip
expect
those.
the draft plan realistically to be right around the first week of December, the last week in November, first week of December.
Okay.
And so staff will need to work through it before we bring it to you. So I would say January probably is the earliest opportunity for that.
So it's going to flip then, the strategy plan?
We have it on February.
Okay, well, February is even.
Strategic plan draft. Well, we have something called strategic plan.
Yeah, there are two different drafts that we work with. There's an administrative draft that we work with internally, and then there's a public draft. It's the public draft that we will be bringing to you.
Okay.
So February seems very reasonable for that.
And we don't need to, do we need to have that as an approval, or do we need to have that as a review? Or do we need two separate agenda items?
That's a review, I think.
Okay.
That isn't actually an approval. Your approval, I think, would be just prior to sending it to council for adoption.
Perfect. Then we can postpone the January strategic plan approval, and then we can put the case management presentation and senior advisory council presentation in the January meeting.
Maybe we need to take this off, San Francisco rooftop park visitation.
I mean, we can still go. I just can't until next year.
Oh, the
she
San
was asking
Francisco
about
rooftop park visitation.
I just can't
It's
plan any.
I'll be right now.
Which one?
The first one under the special meetings to be scheduled.
Oh.
It's
We were gonna do a group outing there.
The rooftop park visit.
but
but I
right now
will.
that whole area is like
Oh, I wonder if
It's also
is it not
collapsing
as,
right now,
yeah,
which
it's
Yeah.
collapsing,
Yeah,
right?
might
exactly.
be a.
And it's not quite as pressing, given that
Yeah.
the
No.
new
It's-
proposal does not
it's not.
include one. So
Yeah. It's not really imminent anymore.
hmm.
All right. Anything else? Excellent. All right. Staff and commission reports. Director.
Okay, we'll try to be brief. There are really three things on the horizon right now that we're working with that I'd like to share. The first one is you may have heard that our friends at Santa Clara County have opened up a second round of the grant process for the All-Inclusive Playground. If you might recall, the last time they did this, several months back, they put $10 million on the table for different cities, and it was by kind of district. And unfortunately, we didn't make an application because we weren't ready. We didn't have a location, nor did we have a concept. Well, now I'm happy to say that we had contracted shortly after with a consultant to come up with that concept and that location, and we've done quite a bit of research into it. And we took that. Well, let me back up. We received notice from the county on September 11th with an October 12th deadline for submission, which, if you know, in the grant business, that's a very tight turnaround for anyone. As a result, we took it to council last week, or on Tuesday, and it received unanimous support to the tune of a match of $1.2 million.
Amazing.
We will be applying for 1.8. That'll get us to $3 million out of the $5 million we suspect is going to be needed for an all-inclusive playground. So as a result, we've started the process. I believe that we will meet the deadline for the grant. It will be submitted, and it's a very, very competitive process, but I suspect that we'll be as strong an applicant as any other city may be. And the location, by the way, chosen by the consultant is either the top or the bottom playground replacement there. And just to remind everyone the difference between a regular ADA acceptable playground and an all-inclusive. The all-inclusive means that anyone of any level of ability, physical or otherwise, can make full use of every part of the playground. In a regular ADA playground, there's kind of a minimum set of standards. And so while, say, a transfer station on a piece of playground equipment, having that may allow us to meet the ADA standards, it still doesn't mean that an individual, say in a wheelchair, can use the swings or use a merry-go-round type apparatus. And so that's the real beauty of the all-inclusive, is that every single thing. It also focuses on all of the different kinds of senses in terms of harps that you can hear as you wave your hands, and steps when you walk around things cricket or sound like frogs or what have you. It's really a special experience, very expensive, but in any event, that's the first thing. The second thing is I just wanted to let you know that we will be bringing the neighborhood programs to you as, per your work plan. But just to give you a sneak peek, we've started to work with the numbers to figure out how successful this experiment was this summer. Going into the neighborhood parks and taking activities, everything from movies and concerts to exercise programs, and I think you all were there as far as participating in several. We had a total of 15 concerts and 9 movies, and total participation was 5,888 individuals. So we, more than exceeded what I expected for a first year, because of course word of mouth is the best marketing, and it doesn't happen until you've done these. 200, I think it was 230 or something was the average for these, and they were culturally based. They were very, very creative. It was a lot of fun. And so we'll be coming back to you about it. We made we focused on partnerships, and we had everything from the Chamber, Fine Arts League, Chinese performers, regional local chess clubs, the Sheriff's Office. We had a lot of partners on this, and so very much look forward to next year. The schedule is already, there's already some draft work involved, but because this is an expensive program, we will be bringing it back to you with a recommendation to go back to council, because this was a pilot. And so what we'll want to do is to spell out all the lessons learned and come up with a number of ideas for future.
I have one question about that. The 2 individuals who were driving this were temporary employees, and so we are losing them or have lost them now. And so how will you manage that till next summer?
They were seasonal employees. We'll be recruiting, whether it's, we don't know who the individuals will be that will be, in town or local. In other words, we've got a lot of talented staff on the team as well that can pick up the program. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. The third thing I wanted to mention to you is that with the master plan quickly approaching us, and the draft coming, the next step, while the master plan works with the physical assets and many of the programs, the next step along with that is to work with a strategic plan that will outline what our action steps are in terms of our leadership and our structure of the organization and a number of other things. And so we've started that process. We've hired a consultant who's been on board here for a couple of weeks, and you'll be hearing more about that process, because the master plan very much speaks from or the strategic plan very much speaks from a voice that would come from the commission, as well as staff and others. So more to come on that, but that's a very time-intensive project that we've started to work on. So with that said, that's really all I have to share with you tonight.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I know we have a robust set of things for the next couple of months, so thank you both to you and the department for all your hard work, because I know this doesn't just happen. So thank you. All right, Judy, got any commissioner updates?
Judy was gone for almost all of September. However, in my travels, which I don't know if anyone cares about, I visited Montreal, which was such a fabulous city when it came to art and music in their streets. And I don't know if I sent you a picture. I came upon a street festival where they had lights, like these bright lights, and everyone was given chalk, and they made art up and down the street. Oh my gosh, fun. And the kids were there and teenagers were there. It was a fabulous evening, and there were hundreds of people on the street, and they had music, and then the fire department came at midnight with the big hoses and cleaned the street. So that was just, I just came home with thinking, wow, that was such a easy, cheap, fun activity that just brought people out. And then the second thing is there was artwork on almost every corner, and one of them, I think I might have sent to my friends or my Facebook friends, was a big, huge speaker that there was a long line of people, and you speak into the speaker, and these big, huge, magnified pipes come out. And it was at their version of a BART station. So people came out and sang. I did a big myself. And it was it seemed like a reasonable thing to do, and it was colorful and inexpensive, and you just come upon it. So I have a couple of those I'm going to send your way of just things that were fabulous sort of street art. And that's where I spent my September mostly.
Okay, well, I think I still attended a couple neighborhood events in September. I plan on going to Pooch in the Pool on Saturday, or Pooch at the Pool. I received the email for the online registration with Parks and Recreation Services, and so I went through that. Jeff forgot to mention that. That went live, and so that seemed very straightforward, and I thought that was pretty good. I also went down to San Jose. There was a chalk art activity up there that was phenomenal that they have every year, and there was just beautiful artwork made out of chalk. And there was one display. It was in the midst of still being drawn when I came by, and it's basically a 3D display. And it looked there was a picture of a girl and a dog, and they just looked like they rose up out of the sidewalk. And there were two artists sitting there. In the picture I have, you can't really tell the difference between the artists that are sitting there and this picture of a young woman in the sidewalk. It was pretty phenomenal. If we could do something here. There was also a Bark in the Park in San Jose that had a ton of different activities for dogs. They had competitions as well as vendors and things like that. I think we may have some interest here that to do something like that too.
Thank you. After a busy summer attending all the neighborhood events, September was quiet, except for the yoga, which was interesting. The 4 weeks, the participation increased tremendously. By 4th week, it was quite a lot of people. So it seems that the word of mouth, the people walking the park were noticing it. So it would be, recommendation would be to have a longer period of that, so people became aware and get the benefit, because they just came to the last one and then said, oh, it's done. So that would be, it was a lot of parts, and the pictures were posted on Nextdoor. There was advertisement through Nextdoor. So I think that's how the word spread. So I went to the mayor's meeting, and we already heard from the teen supervisor. They talked about the program, and Teen Commission specifically talked about Cupertino. It seems like 600 people showed up. Of them, 200 did the survey. 96% of that survey says excellent event. And there was not much parking issues. Again, food was an attraction. Boba, popcorn, snack, everything was free. But they did notice that the kids, just after taking the food, didn't leave. They were there because there were other booths. And the couple of areas that got a lot of attention was calligraphy table and the sharks table. So they were quite popular. And they also noticed that the LGBT booth got some visits. And that was quite positive for them, that kind of a booth or available is not for the teen. They're not usually available for the teens. So seeing them participate in those diverse areas was interesting. They are working on their 18-19 work plan. The hackathon is coming up. They are working on some workshop series to promote various clubs, and then they had the bridge partnership with the FUHSD assistant superintendent come and talk to them about it. Fine Arts mentioned they postponed their meeting, but they are done with their emerging artist application process, and they are finalizing the recipient of the award. They are continuing to look for areas for their art in unexpected places, and they have, in previous meetings, they have said that they want to collaborate with Park and Rec and find places to do art. Well, it's housing and planning didn't have much. Planning had a major 7-hour meeting the month before, so they skipped the September meeting. There was a mention of what Jeff has already mentioned. The grant was for the all-inclusive playground. BikePed mentioned that their fall bike festival is coming up on October 27th, and they invite everybody to join. There will be two levels of biking paths, like a short one and the long one. Tech is working on their work plan also. They are looking at summer smart city initiative, and also they are doing a survey about broadband coverage and cellular coverage within the city. So they probably are going to send out a survey to the residents. They also are doing a technology lab for the teens through the teen center, and they're and it's probably is a AI lecture, a lab and a lecture for coming up. That's what they're planning, and they are also looking at incubator space for companies to come and start. Safety Commission. They talked about the coffee with the cops. Unfortunately, there were only 2 members who showed up. But they talked about that they had the car seat inspection, and 35 car seats were inspected, and 14 were given away. So that was a success for them. If anybody wants to ride along with the sheriff, they invite public. There's a process of just signing up, and you can actually ride along. So they invite the public to, if anybody wants to do it, just have to call the sheriff's office and sign up. Oh yeah, they want to collaborate with Fine Arts Commission because they want to create some interesting posters because of the lot of car break-ins that are happening. So they want to come up with something that the restaurants and the businesses would be willing to put and say, don't leave your valuables in the car. That doesn't get much attention. People are not putting that. So they want to come up with some kind of a much more reasonable art which can communicate to the public. So that was that. And sustainability. They are working on some carbon pricing plan. It's from, I think, state level coming through, so they're looking at that. And something about Public Works trying to give us one bin, which will have divided bins, which will wet, dry, and trash. So there's some new system coming along, and they are also looking at storm system fee survey from the community. So that might be coming to the public. Library had a good, the highlight was they are, now you are able to download the great courses from the library. Those are wonderful courses, and they had a lot of response to the passport application that just recently started at the library. There were 167 applications, passport application accepted. The ebook usage has doubled over the last year. And though they noticed that their adult and teen programmings have decreased, and so has attendance. And they are not sure why that is, so they're trying to figure out what is the case. And they wanted to highlight their role, the commission's role in the Poet Laureate program, and they listed a lot of programs associated with that. So, and there's a library sale, coming up in October.
Chair, if I may, I am remiss in announcing one extremely important thing that we've done. And after 2 years of successful, hard-earned work, we went live with our new recreation software package earlier in the week on Tuesday. And I would feel terrible if I didn't report that to you. It was on my notes. I just spaced it. In any event, this is a great program. It improves service tremendously. Community members can now go online and create their own accounts. They can get in real time picnic reservations and such, and sign up for classes. Formerly, we were using 4 different registration systems at different facilities. The age of, say, a senior was different if you were at the senior center than the sports center. But that's now, if you're 50, you qualify there. and we were able to really move forward in current time. I'd also be remiss by not mentioning this was a team effort with a lot of people. The city's IT program, our supervisors and coordinators, and everybody took part. Specifically, or particularly, Recreation Supervisor Rochelle Sander just did an amazing job championing this project, and it certainly would not have happened in the seamless way that it did without her efforts. So, in any event, that's my report.
Thank you. All right, and that's a huge, that was a huge undertaking. And congratulations also to the whole team for getting that rolled out. All right, I was also not in the country, and I got back 30 minutes before this meeting. So haven't had too much of a chance to do things since I haven't been here. However, even in places like Lebanon, it is easy for people to walk from place to place and use transportation to get where they need to go. So as we continue building out our master plan for our Parks and Rec, making sure that our services and our parks are accessible through other alternative means outside of just individual family cars, I can't stress enough how important that is and will continue to be, especially as our population grows and as our corporate constituents grow in size as well. And I brought some sweet treats for y'all to try from Lebanon, so help yourselves. All right, seeing as there's nothing else on the agenda, I adjourn this meeting at 9:01.